What's up, guys? Steel Mace Warrior here. And today's podcast episode, we have Ben Walker. I've been, waiting to release this one. It's been quite a bit between the podcast episodes because, as a lot of you know already, I'm part of the trainers at Evolution Health Solutions in Yuma, Arizona. So, I've been having to reorganize my time. Let's just put it that way. And on top of that, I just have a lot more tasks to do on a weekly basis. But don't worry, I'm still here and I'm still going to drop these podcasts for you. So let's continue on. But yeah, we have Ben Walker, also known as Built by Ben on Instagram. So you'd want to go check him out. And I'll make sure that I add all the links like I usually do if you're on my blog or if you are on the YouTube description. You can check that out there. But what makes this episode so interesting is it's always the background stories or where a lot of these individuals came from. Their prior experiences or their prior passions before they met up with the Mace. So Ben talked a little bit about how he did theater, and I am not sure if it's the same thing. I mean, obviously it's acting, right? So he used to be an actor, and we talk a little bit about that. So that's really cool. We've had a lot of guests on the show that have like this really awesome history with creative, kind of creative background. So like, for example, Eric Milan, he has a music background. I'm one of them too. I have music background. I'm very creative in that area. So it's really cool to kind of I know nothing about theater or, actors and actresses and that industry, the movie industry as well. But, it's really cool to meet someone who's had that in their prior life. And I'm pretty sure he's still digging it and he's still doing it. But obviously you'll find out more in the podcast. But anyway, so Ben Walker is a Steel Mace Flow Coach with over there with Leo. He is a Steel Mace Specialist by Onnit. And he's a strong coach mentor. So it's actually really interesting to hear about this too. I've been hearing a lot of strong coach being thrown around. And I really want to know a little bit more about that. So I asked him about that. And in case you want to know a little bit about the strong coach program, that's something to check out as well. And to kind of learn about in this podcast episode. So it's a really interesting one. And I really hope you guys enjoy it. And at this point, I'm not sure whether the code for the Steel Mace Flow course is still on. But I mean, if you guys want to give it a shot, it's SM Warrior. So you go over to steelmaceflow.com, enter SM Warrior, and you get your discount. Okay, guys. So again, I don't know if it's expired at this point. I haven't talked to Leo in a while. So just try it out. See if it works. And if it doesn't, hit up Leo. I'm pretty sure he'll still hook it up in some way or form. All right, Leo's a cool dude. All right, guys. Well, let's get into the podcast episode. All right, Steel Mace Warriors, here we are again. And I guess for this episode, there's two things I'm grateful for. All right. First thing, I fucked up the last episode with Jeffrey. I said his last name wrong.
Oh, no.
He was like, that's the German way of saying it. So I'm really glad. I'm really grateful for your last name. It's Walker, Ben Walker. So easy to say. And second thing I'm grateful for is for you, man. Like, I'm so glad you're on this podcast. I'm always so grateful to have every guest, but thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's start off the podcast. So tell us about you. Tell us about your journey in fitness and kind of what led you to the Steel Mace.
All right. So fitness, I was always active, always played sports. I was what my mom called a spirited child. So lots of sports. And then I found theater, and that became the outlet for all the crazy energy that I had. So that's what I studied. Like, I have a degree in musical theater. That's what I studied in college. And as I'd worked out before, but then I got to college and I thought, okay, I'm going into a career in performing. I got to look good.
Right.
So I started working out, and that started just as a hobby. And then I started getting much more serious about it. And then I went on a national tour. I was going to be on it for 2 years, and I knew, okay, I'm going to be like I'm going to basically be living on a bus, traveling, up to 500 miles a day on a bus. Might as well do something with that. So I got a personal trainer cert while I was on the road.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I figured, this will be a cool side gig.
Yeah.
To go along with theater. Little did I know how it's just as hard as gig in theater is.
Yeah.
And then while I was on tour, a guy in my show knew this guy, Jeff Butterworth, who owns a gym called RX Strength Training in Somerville, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. And we went there. We did a couple workouts because we were playing Boston for a week. We did a couple workouts there, and I knew I have to go learn from this guy because I'd recognized I was training some people in my cast, and I'd recognized that with my personal trainer, so all I did was read a book and take a test.
Yeah.
That was it. There was no practical application or education, anything like that. So I knew I needed to be an apprentice somewhere, and I found this guy, Jeff Butterworth, and asked him to be my mentor, and he said yes. So we closed the show, and then I went and got an Airbnb in Somerville for a month, just to pick Jeff's brain, shadow him, and ask him all sorts of questions. And then one day I was like, "Hey, what's that thing hanging on the wall?" He's like, "Oh, this is a steel mace. Do you want to try it?"
Wow. Now, how long ago was this?
This was 2016, summer of 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, and he taught me how to do a 360, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
I think I remember there were even times where, like, maybe I was supposed to be observing him in a class, but I was really standing in the back with the mace, playing around, and I would go back to my Airbnb and daydream about what I was going to do when I got back to the gym.
Yeah.
And it's funny to look back on it because he was like, "Yeah, there's this guy, ESIK831. You got to follow him on Instagram," or something like that. And then I also found, like, Googling for Steel Mace workouts, I found Leo back when he was at the UFC gym in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
And watched and studied them relentlessly. And copying them is really how I got any kind of skill, is just, how did they do that?
Yeah. So,
and then, like,
going back to that though, I gotta ask, how was your first 360?
Actually, it was all right.
It was good?
It was all right.
Oh,
it's funny because there's a video of it that I have on my Instagram from way back, and I thought that I wanted to, like, I want it smooth, so I don't stop it all in the middle, so I just go like this. And it's
sort of
it could be way worse. But, yeah. that's what it looked like.
Right.
Yeah, like, wasn't I was, like, doing it up here and like ducking under the mace.
That, I like to mention that because I think a lot of listeners are like, my 360 sucks. Trust me, we've all been there, right?
They will suck for a while.
Right.
It's a common thing that I hear when I'm training people. Like, I give them an adjustment. They're like, "But that's hard." Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be. So, like, if you're worried about how your 360s aren't smooth after your second day of Steel Mace, that's okay. They're not supposed to be smooth yet.
Right on. All right, continue on before I broke you up.
Oh man. So from there I started developing my own Steel Mace practice of taking bits and pieces from different things I was seeing on the internet and then adding some of my own stuff. Initially I combined it a lot. I was kind of found it at the beginning of what became a year-long powerlifting phase, where I was like, I want to get really strong, eat all the things. So I did a lot of combining the mace with the powerlifting movements. So the mace became a lot of my accessory work for the main lifts, which was a lot of fun to explore.
Yeah.
And then it was actually over a year before I was able to take the Steel Mace cert. So I started in July of 2016, and then November of 2017, I was able to go down to Onnit to take the Steel Mace cert there. I'd had it booked there was one in Connecticut, and I was gonna go, and then I booked a show that was like, hey, you got to come out to Missouri and do this show. I'm like, well, I guess there's money over there, so I got to go do that.
Yeah.
And after the Steel Mace cert, it was a slow build of, like, I've heard Shane say this a couple times now, is someone takes an Onnit cert and they come back to their area and like, I'm the only one. Bring on the clients, let them rain down on me, and that doesn't happen.
It doesn't. No, it's not.
I think I had one client, I think, that I just happened to find on social media or something like that. So it's only for any aspiring trainers listening to this. I mean, I started this in 2016, and it's only like this year that it's really started to pick up.
What do you think? What do you think made it pick up, in your opinion?
Oh, the strong coach, hands down.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I need to get into that with you a little later, but I'm going to let you finish your little story there.
Yes, definitely. So I guess I came back from Onnit, and immediately I wanted to teach a class. I wanted to create a community, because we've got this cool Steel Mace community on the internet, but it's so spread out. Because like, I'm in New York City, and like Blake Hickey's upstate, and then Jeff Oakes is in Michigan, and then at the time Theo was in New Mexico. So we're all over the place. I mean, there was no one else in New York City doing this. And I got a class going, clawed tooth and nail to make the class happen at a corporate gym. And almost as soon as that was over, I left the gym, because that was I think every trainer should work at a corporate gym just for a couple months.
Yeah.
Just to feel what that's like. So then you can be grateful for all the other gyms and how much cooler they are.
Yeah.
But everyone who took that class, because that was in beginning of 2018, I did that class. Everyone who took it followed me when I left.
Oh, that's so cool.
And two of those guys I still work with. I see at least once a week still.
Awesome. And
train them. So that was a huge windfall to be able to still like leave that gym and still be able to train people. I did not force them to leave. They suggested it themselves. I will say that.
Yeah. The one thing we're all worried about when that happens, anyway. When people follow us around, I did not steal them. I did not steal them.
I remember I trained one or two of them before I left outside. I remember very purposely not putting it on social media, because I didn't want anyone to see that I was training people outside of the gym. But anyone who's left a corporate gym will share my lack of care for that. Because it's not those kinds of spaces where they just have sales in mind, and they don't have the actual growth of their employees in mind.
Right. That's
they just
usually
don't. It's not a good place.
Goodbye.
Yeah. So that's kind of like up until that's like life before the strong coach, and then life after the strong coach has been, as we call it, a rocket ship.
That's what I want to know about right there. Let's get into that. Tell me about strong coach, because I've heard of it, but tell me more, because I'm curious. And then if we have any like listeners who are coaches, like how would it benefit them? Like how has it benefited you?
Okay. Well, where to begin? So I guess I can follow the curriculum of the strong coach. So it starts with the very first exercise, and this was a really powerful one for me. The very first exercise is, where are you settling in your own life? Because the first module talks about sacrifice and service, and how often we get them confused, and we think that we have to sacrifice in order to serve. But the thing is with that, then you're trying to pour from an empty cup, and you can't as much. Your heart could be in the total right place. If you've got nothing in your cup, you're not worth anything to your clients. So it was, the first exercise was, where are you settling? And I was looking at New York City and recognizing, because I was going to stop performing to start pursuing fitness. And I was looking at that, I was like, oh, so I don't even have to be in New York. I can choose to be in New York though. And then I was driving, because I was going back up to Boston because I had a month. So I was going to go hang out at my mentor's gym. And I drove up from Central Jersey on the turnpike. And anyone who's done that knows that you get to a point where over on the right, you can see the New York City skyline. And usually I look at that and I grumble. New York, I don't want to go there. And then, but for some reason, well, I know the reason, but I looked and reflexively went, bring it, motherfucker. That was just what came up in my head.
Yeah,
and that was immediately when I knew, like, something's changed. Something's different now.
Right.
Because I had a whole different purpose for going back to the city. And then after that, we get into creating goals and how to create actual meaningful goals, like getting a date by when you will have this goal completed, phrasing the goal in the present tense. So like if I make a goal to teach a Steel Mace class, I'd phrase it as, by this date, I teach a Steel Mace class twice a week.
All right.
To phrase it as the current reality, because words are magic. That's why it's called spelling.
Yeah.
So we cast, yes.
Yeah.
So we cast, like, it's casting.
We're getting a little brujo here, huh?
What?
Brujo. Bruja.
Yes.
Spells.
Exactly. So with that, you state your goal as if it is your current reality. And then you form a why you want to achieve that goal. And then the last piece is a mantra, who you have to be in order for that goal to happen. And that's one of the mantra practice that we teach in the Strong Coach is one of the most powerful things that I got from it. I remember saying them in my car on the way to the gym and feeling like that moment in 300 when Leonidas just screams at everybody. That's what I felt like. Just from breath work and saying, you know, I work from inspiration, or I play when I work, to myself. And then we get into how to dissect the stories you tell about yourself, because humans comprehend the world through telling stories about things and ascribing meaning to things. And you got to recognize that sometimes the meaning you're putting on something is inaccurate. So someone could, it's like that thing where like someone looks at you and you concoct this whole thing of like, ooh, they looked at me. That means that they don't like my shirt. Oh no, everyone's going to hate my shirt. Oh my gosh, I feel so stupid in this shirt. Or it could be your shirt is a bright color, so it caught their eye. Right. That could also be the story. So there's and that's the thing is, as we get into it, as we get deeper into the program, Danny's really good. Oh, he called me out so many times. He's really good at calling out stories on people. So I would tell him stories about how, like, worried about asking for things at my job, or worried that that like clients would leave me if I raised my rates. And he was quick to point out, those are all stories, Ben. Like, what's another story you could tell? What's a more accurate version of this story?
Now, could these stories be, I don't know if you guys talked about that, but could these stories be passed down? Like, for example, like a community thing, because here in Arizona, we have this thing like the summer is like, we got to put our rates down because no one has money in the summer. That's kind of like one of the things circulating here. And I'm like, I usually don't give into that. I'm like, I don't believe that. I can't believe that. So can it be passed down? You think, like, stories?
Yeah. Don Miguel Ruiz actually writes about this. He calls it the dream of the planet, or the dream of society, where, like, for me, the example was I've been doing theater since I was 8 years old. So everyone's like, oh, you're going to be on Broadway, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be on Broadway. That's my goal. That's my dream. I want to be on Broadway. But that was a dream that other people had told me. Like, oh, you're doing theater. You're pretty good at it. You're going to be on Broadway. So that I took that story on. And it wasn't until I was like actually doing pretty well and like doing really well and recognizing that I wasn't happy. That I realized that, oh, this is a dream. This is somebody's dream, but it's not mine.
Wow.
And
That's crazy.
It's funny that you say that thing about the summer, because I've seen something about sales, because often sales for gyms dip in the holidays.
Yeah.
To then spike in New Year's. And it's like, the thing is, December is your slow season because you say it's your slow season.
Yeah.
If you put in more work around that, and you get smarter around your marketing, you can make December your best month.
Yeah. So that's really fucking cool. That's really cool that you guys have the whole story stuff.
It is the Strong Coach is the single most transformational thing I've ever done. And I mean, I call it a rocket ship because, I mean, it cost literally every penny that I had. It cost exactly how much I had in my savings. And I recouped that investment within like 2 months of completing the program. And I've almost doubled that now. And I finished it in February. So sometimes it's like when in Star Wars, when they go to light speed and it's like, whoa. And everything suddenly happens really fast.
Yeah.
Like we go through, like, because then the second half of the program is business and marketing. So one of those things is, what's your offer when you're selling your services to a new client. And I changed my offer where all of my clients were paying significantly more. And I have a 300 something, 500 something, and a 700 something dollar option. I remember the first time I gave that offer to one of my clients, and he was like, oh, okay, I'll do the middle one. He just blinked and handed me $500 right there.
You're like, I should have known this a long time ago.
Right.
Thank you, Strong Coach.
That's the thing, is so many people have a relationship around money where they tell themselves all these stories about money, and it's not anyone's fault, because like you were saying, we get these stories passed down, like, oh, money's bad, you shouldn't talk about how much money you make.
Right.
Oh, I feel uncomfortable asking people for money. That was me. I remember being like, okay, so here's the offer. I was so scared, and he didn't even blink.
Shit.
That's the thing. I haven't.
And this was a current client, right?
Yeah,
this was like a client you already had. That's probably why it was even more stressful for you, right?
Yeah, because like he's used to paying a certain amount, and then all of a sudden, like, so I'm changing how I do this. Here's what I'm doing now, and he didn't blink. And that's the offer that I've been giving to all my clients since. And I'm now at 8 clients, both in person and remote.
That's awesome.
And that's awesome. Now I don't even flinch. It's like, okay, this is these are my services. Pick one.
That's so cool.
And it's so much easier than it was just a couple months ago.
Yeah. So is Strong Coach like an online program, or it's a physical thing, or it's like a little bit hybrid? How does that work?
It's an online program. So there are modules on a website called Thinkific. We have the whole curriculum's 12 modules, and each of one of those opens per week. So like week 1, only the first one's open. And then there's video group calls where everyone gets together and talks about the module, and like their successes with it, what they're challenged by. And that's where Danny gets in and coaches everyone individually. When I did it, there was the option to do one-on-one coaching with Danny. I think that's not like, I don't think that's in the offers now, but it's definitely something people could explore.
Yeah.
And that was huge, getting 12 1-hour calls with him every every week. That made a huge difference for me. And then also there's in lieu of the one-on-one coaching, there's now a mentorship program where anyone who's completed the program can then be a mentor for someone who's in the program right now.
And you were Jeffrey's mentor, right?
I was, yes.
Yes.
My first mentee. So
there's a connection there. I love how everyone's connected on the podcast in some way or form.
Yeah.
It's so dope.
It is a fantastic community, and like Strong Coach and Steel Mace are are coming together. Because seriously, I mean, the class right now, there's like 4 of them that got maces.
Wow.
Because they see like Serena, Leo, me, Jeff, Colin, Mike Gonzalez. There's more. There's definitely more. I know there's more. Mace coaches who have done it. I think we're the highest demographic.
Yeah.
The most common demographic in the Strong Coach, and now everyone's starting in the Strong Coach to pick up the mace.
That's crazy. Now, do you think that has to do because mace is so new and we need some help in that area? You think it's that?
Well, it certainly does help. Just the more people doing it, the better.
Yeah, like I guess to market the mace a little better, because you mentioned earlier, like, I got back, but then no one really knew what the fuck a mace was, and
right.
Yeah, I would think.
That's the thing is, like, if it's the best thing in the world, why aren't more people doing it?
Right.
That's what people, especially in New York, people have their things that they do. Like, well, this is the gym I go to. This is what I do. And they're not. This market isn't as like excited about trying new things.
Right.
So most of the people who come up to me are initially skeptical. They're curious but skeptical about the mace. And sometimes it takes a little convincing. I have to put it in their hands first. It's like they're walking by and they say something, and I just go, here, and show them a couple things. And that definitely does help. But the thing is, and it's been really cool to watch this happen, is what the Steel Mace is doing for fitness is what the Strong Coach is doing for coaching.
Okay.
Very much creating your own practice, because in the Strong Coach, it's creating the coaching business, creating the life on top of that coaching business that you want. And the Mace is the same, because you can create any kind of practice you want. You can do 360s and nothing else. You can do everything but 360s. You can combine it with barbells. You can combine it with dumbbells. You can combine it with yoga. There's the only limit is your creativity.
Right.
And that's the same thing with the Strong Coach, is what kind of unreasonable stuff can you come up with to then manifest in your life? And that's exactly what the Steel Mace does for fitness.
Dang. I'm sold. Where do I go?
Boom. Strongcoach.com or go to.
Now, is it open for everyone, or is it like, or there's certain dates where it opens up? And
there are certain dates where it opens up. So we just started class 8 on Saturday. The next class 9, should be in like 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay. All right, cool. So I'll make sure I'll put a link for the listeners in case they want to go check it out as well, because that's important. Now let's go back to mace. So in your opinion, what makes the mace unique? And then I usually ask, like, what are the benefits, but I think it's already been thrown out there. But what were the benefits for you? Like, when you first picked up the mace, what type of effect did it have on you?
The benefit for me was a creative benefit, because I'm an artist.
Right.
Like, I still love performing, even though I'm not pursuing it professionally anymore. So the mace was a blank canvas. I could learn a couple moves and then build off of that and start creating my own flows. And even if they were actually flows that someone else had created, and I was just finding them later in my own head, but then someone else had already done them. Like, it didn't matter. Like, in that moment, I created them for myself. And having that expression is fantastic, because especially as any artist knows, like, you don't always get to practice your art.
Yeah.
Especially actors, it's really hard, because you got to go and audition, and if you've got the wrong hair color, or you're an inch too short, or the casting director didn't have their coffee yet, you're screwed. So so little is in your control. But with the mace, that's an artistic expression I have that's completely within my control.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I busted out a full free flow where I wasn't thinking, and completely was never thinking, oh, I'm gonna do this move next. I just did them, and I stopped and I put the mace down and just went, wow. And like that is why I keep coming back to it, because of moments like that.
Yeah. Now, did that come? Obviously, that came with skill, right? I mean, obviously, we have to develop the skill first before we can get into that kind of like flowy state,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. The way I think Leo's used this analogy is when you're starting out learning how to write. You learn how to write letters, and at first they look garbage. They're all over the place. Like your lower cases are this tall and your upper cases are this tall, and gradually though you start to smooth those lines out, and then the letters are readable. You can actually tell what they mean. From there you form words. So you start, CAT. Okay, I can write that. DOG. Okay, I can write that. That's a word. And then you start creating bigger words using more letters. And from there, you move on to sentences and then phrases. And then maybe you start writing in cursive. So all of those build on each other. But if you try to write in cursive, if you don't know what the letters are in the first place, you'll make something, but you won't necessarily get the same benefits as you do from having the foundation first.
Awesome. Now, where do you think, like if someone wanted to learn flow, where can they learn these foundations? Obviously from you, but like if they wanted to search for something online, what's a great resource?
SteelMaceFlow.com.
All right.
SteelMaceFlow.com. There's an online program that with videos and homework and instructional stuff that takes you from this is a mace to doing the whole masterclass flow. So you can get level 1 certified as a Steel Mace Flow Coach. And from there, if you can contact any of us, you can contact me, Jeff, Serena, Leo, Zach, any of us, and we can do the with honors test. To give you the with honors certification.
I was curious about that because I noticed he would put like now providing with honors, or he put something like that on Instagram, and I was always wondering what that meant. So that's pretty cool to know.
Yeah. So the with honors test is 500 360s without putting the mace down, and then it goes right into the masterclass flow, which is 8 flows, and you have to do them all perfectly.
Wow.
So from the first 360 to the last piece of the masterclass flow, the mace, you can stop, you can hold the mace, but the mace cannot leave your hands. And if you can complete all of that, then you get the with honors certification.
Well deserved. That sounds.
Oh yeah,
that sounds like intense.
It is brutal.
I like you said it. I was already like, woo.
Yeah, even with 10 pounds, those 500 360s, I had to whisper some interesting affirmations to myself to get through all those 360s.
Shit. And so you filmed yourself though, right? You're filming yourself?
I did it. I was fortunate enough to do it in person.
Oh, okay.
Because I was helping Leo and Serena teach a Steel Mace Flow certification, and they were like, "Wait, you haven't done the honors test yet, have you?" I was like, "No." Okay, let's do it.
Oh shit! So, you're like, okay.
I had a little bit of warning, but I didn't know exactly when it was going to happen. So it was like, "Yeah, Ben, after lunch, we're going to do the honors test." Okay. I hope I'm warm.
Yeah. Right on. Okay, so I went on your Instagram and actually listened to, I don't know if it was your last podcast, but you mentioned you play with the mace. Tell me what you mean by that. Let the listeners know what playing with the mace, what does that mean?
Yes.
That sounds like fun.
Exactly. And I always think like if you're not enjoying your physical practice, something's missing. Like I don't care what it is, if it's powerlifting, bodybuilding, Pilates, high intensity Kegels. If you just want to sit there and do Kegels and that really excites you and you look forward to that every day, great. It's got to be something that you enjoy doing for its own sake. And it was actually funny. I first like really thought about play when someone showed me a video of someone flowing with a kettlebell and was saying, I don't get it. Like, why don't they just go out on a field like on a soccer field and play around, or like go to a basketball court and play.
Right.
And I thought, well, why can't they go to a gym and do that? So like you think about like the stuff you do as a kid, like maybe you're like running around climbing. I still do that. 27, I'm still doing that stuff. Like, but like, you know, running around climbing trees, you're playing manhunt, like you call a bunch of friends, like, hey, let's go play football in the park. And then somehow when we become adults, we lose that.
Right.
We start thinking like, oh, I'm too old to do that stuff. And then, you know, getting together with friends always has to involve like, let's go to a bar, let's go to a coffee shop, we're going to go to this, we're going to go like do this activity that we have to pay money for and consume calories to do.
Right.
So then Steel Mace Flow is my playtime. When if I'm bored and itching to do something, 9 times out of 10, I either grab a book or a mace. Those are like the two things that I really love. Like that's play for me. And it's going into it not with a goal of not with any goal. The goal is to have fun.
Right.
Because you think about it, you look at, granted, you know, gorillas are genetically very different from humans, so this doesn't always work. But a gorilla doesn't wake up when it's a little gorilla and go, okay, I need to swing through 10 trees 5 times. I need to rest this much. The trees have to be there. It just goes and swings through trees.
Yeah.
And then it becomes 800 pounds and like huge. So
right.
like there's absolutely a place for, you know, getting your Excel spreadsheet with your 82.5% of your max that you're going to lift that day. Absolutely a place for that. That's not the only way though.
Yeah.
You can also take this 10-pound medieval weapon and go mess around in a park. And that can be, because I mean, most of the stuff that people need to do is they just need to move.
Yeah.
So with the mace, there's people are able to move the way they want to move, the way they enjoy moving, as opposed to you have to come, you know, to this gym, you have to go in this squat rack, your feet have to be like this.
Right.
There's freedom to explore and enjoy what you're doing for the sake of doing it. That's the thing, is finding the intrinsic value of the practice, where you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to get so ripped, I'm going to get so jacked from doing this. This is fun, period.
I love it. I knew I had to ask that question. I was like, I know something amazing is going to come out of this question, because it's just, we don't play anymore. Once you you just don't. And it sucks.
Yeah, there's a great book called Exuberant Animal by Frank Forenchich, I think is how you say his name. And that's where I really started thinking about play in fitness, because I read the book a while ago, so I don't remember all the details, but that was his thing, is like, let's remove the structure and just like go roll around in the grass. He says, my favorite quote from that book is, every moment spent in front of a screen is a moment not spent rubbing your body up against the world. So I think about that all the time, is like, get out and do things. You've got this body, it does all this crazy stuff. Use it.
That's so cool. That's awesome. And I'm glad you shared that.
Of course.
All right. So here's a cool question. I mean, for listeners who are just trying to learn more about you. Okay. What inspires you? What inspires you when you're doing Steel Mace?
That's a real good question. Never thought of that.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it.
I mean, I just watched the video of you like in nature. It was so beautiful. I don't know exactly where you were. I was like, wow. I was hating a little. I was like, oh, I wish I could be there with him right now. That was inspirational to me.
I'm thinking about having some sort of steel masonry up at that house. It's in Vermont.
Yeah, dude. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful up there. I mean, that in itself, like, that's an inspirational place.
Yeah.
For me. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I can't put like a finger on what exactly it is. It's one of those things, like, like people say, you know, oh, why do you love me? I don't have a checklist of things. I just love you. Is that, I don't need to know why. It's enough for me that I do. And that's how I feel about the mace, is I'm drawn to it. Like I mean, I still enjoy crushing heavy barbells and kettlebells every now and then. But I'm not drawn to them in the same way that I'm drawn to the mace. I don't think about like, oh man, I just really want to go squat today. I mean, I squatted already today and I loved it. It was great. But when I think about like what I like am called towards, what kind of practice makes me really want to do it, it's always the mace. And I don't really know what the secret sauce is there. I think it'll be
fair enough.
It'll be different for everyone, because I know there are a lot of people who have used the practice to help heal their depression as an emotional outlet.
Right.
Because when you're in flow state, like actual scientific flow state, your mind can't think about anything else. It is consumed by this moment right here. Actually, I remember coming out of a CrossFit class once and suddenly being flooded with thoughts that I hadn't been thinking about for the last hour. And there are a lot of people who have used that very same thing with their Steel Mace practice to help deal with inner turmoil, or maybe they just had a bad day.
Right.
And they need to vent some stress.
Right.
Like it's a tool. I mean, look, it's an inanimate object. It can be whatever you need it to be. It can be, you know, your savior. If you want it to, if you have the creative power to do that, the mace is absolutely that for you. It can be your buddy. It can be your frenemy if you want it to be. It's your only limit is your own creativity.
Yeah. I like how you put that. Absolutely. And I think we all have different opinions on that, because I had, you know, Jeffrey in the past episode, he said it's not really a therapy, like it's not a therapy replacement, but it's there and it helps you heal, right? Like it kind of allows you to become aware of those things, I guess. And I don't want to like recap and say it wrong, because he said it so beautifully in the episode. Like he really, like, I swear his episodes just kind of like, I had to like be quiet. I had to let him have his moment, because he really went deep into the whole, like, you know, healing aspects of the mace, and like, you know, depression and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to hear your perspective on that as well. That's cool.
Because it can be whatever you want it to be as an artist. You know, a 10-pound piece of steel can mean one thing to one person. It can mean something completely different to another person, and they're all right. Yeah. All of those are right. And I think sometimes, and granted, I don't have experience with plant medicine, so I don't. Right. That may be completely stupid for me to say this. So I'm sorry to anyone who does have experience. But the way I've heard it described is it's like the medicine itself isn't like the cure. Right. It tells you what work you need to do. Yes. I've heard Kyle Kingsbury talk about before how he was on, like, I forget what number of ayahuasca ceremonies, and he got the same message. It's like, come on. Like, why am I getting the same thing in ayahuasca? Because you haven't done it yet. Right. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah. So it's, you know, I would say it's good to, like, you can use that practice to then figure out the work you need to do. Yeah. For yourself, I would be wary of looking at the mace as like, this is my cure right here. Because again, it will help you deal with it, but unless you're doing the work outside of that, it's gonna be a band-aid. Right. On something that may need more. But I mean, like in conjunction with if you're doing the work, the mace is so powerful and can exponentially improve your results by having this physical practice. Because I talk about it all the time. It's one of my favorite things. Do you know Eckhart Tolle? Are you familiar with his work?
Yes. Yeah, I read his book a very long time ago, The Power of Now, and then I tried going into a new earth. So recap. Go ahead.
Have you read his thing about, or heard his story about the ducks?
No.
So there's two ducks in a pond, and they fight, and they beat the crap out of each other. It's the most brutal fight. And then it's done. They swim in opposite directions, and they both go, and then they're fine. They let the emotions out with physical movement. But humans don't do that. We go, I'm angry.
We hold grudges.
I'm gonna sit here in this anger, and that energy is not gonna go anywhere. Right. So if you're someone who does have a lot of that pent-up emotion, it could be any emotion, a physical practice like the mace is perfect for that. I even had this happen where I found out someone had stolen something from me, and I was sitting in my apartment, and I was trying to like do breath work. I was just sitting there fuming, and finally I picked up the quad and I did 100 360 to lap squat, and then it was fine.
You did the
all
duck
of it
thing.
Was gone. And I was able to forgive the person. I was like, you can't come back in my apartment, but I forgive you.
Right. Forgive,
so
but I don't forget.
Able to do that. Exactly. I'm not going to make it okay, but I'm not going to think you're a terrible person or anything.
Right.
But I couldn't get to that place unless I used some sort of physical practice to first get rid of the anger. And that's where that physical practice can come in if you are someone who is dealing with depression or anger issues, or they're an unstable home life or anything like that. Having a physical practice as an outlet is huge, because otherwise you're just going to sit there and it's only going to get worse. So you got to let it out.
Yeah.
I don't know why humans stopped doing that, but we need to do it more.
Yeah. I feel like this is a perfect place to just like end this podcast. Like I just want to end it here because it's like, like perfect, done. Right on. All right. So where can people find you? Like online, and then like if someone wanted to coach with you, obviously you have remote. Go ahead and let them know.
Sweet deal. So my Instagram is built_by_Ben. That's me on Instagram. You can Google Steel Mace in New York City. You'll find, I have a couple websites that I'm working on. You will find them. In my bio, I have a link to do a discovery call. So if anyone is curious about what coaching with me is like, either with Steel Mace or with a strong coach, any of that, you can use that link, book a free call with me. And then also two organizations that have really lifted me up that I now work with are the Strong Coach on Instagram, and Steel Mace Flow. Two programs that are fantastic. They'll get you where you need to go. So if you look those both up on Instagram, or just reach out to me, I'll talk about them until my face turns blue.
Right on. And as you guys know, Leo sponsored these 4 podcasts. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a promo code. So if you're listening, you can save $200 with SM Warrior. So put that in there when you're checking out, which I'm super excited. So I have to give Leo a shout out. I didn't get to in the last episode, but this episode, we're going to go ahead and do that because obviously they've helped you out a lot, and Leo's helped me. He's the man.
Yeah. Right. And also with that Steel Mace Flow, we are bringing back, Leo did this for a while, did a group mentoring call system similar to the Strong Coach.
Okay.
And we are bringing that back in the next few months. So if you're looking for a Strong Coach Steel Mace Flow combination, that is in the works.
That's cool, man. Because obviously all of you, I'm all trying to end the podcast, but obviously all of you have gone through the curriculum, right? Serena, Steel Mace Gypsy, Leo, you.
Serena started it all. She was the
Power
first
to
one.
women. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I remember hanging out and she was doing it. I was like, "What is this thing?" And Leah was like, "Yeah, Mike wants me to do it, but he said I'd have to write a lot of stuff, so I don't want it." And then he did it, and boom, we have the Steel Mace Flow certification.
That's so dope.
From that.
High five to all you guys. Virtual. All right. Well, thank you again for being on the podcast. I'm sure listeners are going to like have a blast with this podcast episode. I know I did. You made me laugh tons. And so go check out Ben and make sure if you want to learn Mace, he's available remotely. And again, thank you. It was an honor to have you on here.
Thank you so much, Victoria. It was great to be on.
Thank you.